Thank you so much for having me. So, I had a friend, his name was Kaido. He was a foreign exchange student from Japan. A really cool guy. And one day we were just talking about how his life was in Japan. The culture, the society, the education, the day-to-day life. Right? And it turns out it's very, very diverse and very cool to learn about. But he asked me, Fagun, why do you think that America is the greatest country in the world? And I told him the basic answer, I told him that it's a land of opportunities. We have the best military, the best economic system, the richest economy, right? And then he counters me with some hard facts. Facts that I knew in the back of my mind, but he brought it to the front. And here they are. America is leading in the drugs, in the crime rate, in the incarceration rate, among all of the other developed nations of the world. And yet it's still the most powerful nation. A country that's only 244 years old, which is relatively young compared to the rest of the world. A country, a first world country with third world social problems is the most powerful country in the world. Why? What are all the other countries lacking that we have? And it's simple. The answer is the American spirit. What is the American spirit? Put simply, it's the unconditional upholding of liberty, whether it's the freedom of our beliefs, of our government, or of our everyday actions. It's truly what defines America. Of the 2.5 centuries of existence, America has changed a lot, but what hasn't changed is the American spirit. So in this rapidly developing and globalizing world, how can we stay at the top? How can we make our society better? And to investigate this, to investigate the American spirit, we have to take a dive into history, all the way back to the Revolutionary War, where it all started. During the Revolutionary time period, the colonists were unhappy with the rule. They felt that their rights and liberties as British citizens were not being heard. So what did they do? They left the British, created their own country, and defeated the British. It sounds easy to say it, but when you actually realize what they had to do, they had to go against the strongest army in the world, the strongest navy, people who had trained, while they were just untrained men with hardly any weapons. Yet no matter how reckless the American spirit may be, we still surmounted these challenges and beat the British. It all starts with leaders like George Washington, people who are selfless in their service and passion. See, when I say George Washington, what comes to mind? Probably the first president or the general who led the Patriots to victory. But do you ever think of him as a dictator? No, right? But technically the power granted to him by the Second Continental Congress was that of a dictator's. And there were people out there who believed that he should have taken advantage of this power and led the nation. But George believed the opposite. He believed that the power resided within the people, and that's exactly what he did. He gave the power back to the people. And if this isn't one of the best examples of the American spirit, I don't know what is. Another example of the American spirit throughout time is the Civil War. The Civil War, you may ask? The war where the South left the Union and fought the North? Where brother fought brother? Yes, that is an example of the American spirit, and here's why. Even though the South was fighting for a cause that we now know was morally unjust, and they fought their own families, the reason that it's still relevant today is because of the lengths the North went to protect those rights and to protect the freedom and equality for all. And even today, we have to still fight for what is morally just. Another example of the American spirit is the Cold War. Because no matter how many threats, not just America, but democracy faced, America stood tall. They gave aid to nations, underdeveloped nations that were under the threat of a communist takeover. And so, let's jump back to the question. How can we bring back that spirit? Because the scary fact is not that China or any other country is going to surpass the US and take over the world. The scary fact is that we're going to divide ourselves so thin that we cannot recover. A recent Gallup poll shows that only 44% of Americans felt that they were proud to be American. That's an astonishingly low rate compared to the 70% in 2004. So how can we fix this? How can we make society better, stronger, and safer? How can we make that chart in the beginning look different? And the answer is simple. We have to rekindle the American spirit. We have to rekindle that flame before the harsh cold of disunity overwhelms us. We have to keep equality and freedom on the forefront. Otherwise, we'll not just fall from our global position, but we'll also fall from the hearts of our people. Thank you.